My name is Megan Ward. I am a senior at Reardon High School. I play tennis. I am also in the band. Ever since I was little, I have always wanted to be a part of something much bigger than myself. In sports, in school, in relationships, I always tried to be the best that I could be, but I found that that was never enough for me. So then I strived for being just the best. And what I found was that my failures brought a lot of disappointment, and I beat myself up a lot over my failures, and my successes never brought me any joy at all. And I was just kind of stuck in a place of no joy and dissatisfaction. I have been to Mexico 3 times, and the first time I was there, I just kind of put my feet in the water, just get a feel for the missions field. The second time, I was actually really sick, and I was sitting in a ditch in Rosarito during some quiet time, and I opened my Bible to Psalms 143 because that's where our focus verse of the week came from. And I was reading, and in verse 4 it says, "My spirit grows faint within me, and my heart within me is dismayed. I spread out my hands to you, and my soul thirsts for you like a parched land." And I remember looking up, and in front of me, all I could see was dry, brown, just the picture of hopelessness in Tijuana. I realized that those dry hills, that dirt, was how my soul was feeling, and how I was just thirsty for something that I had been trying to provide for myself, but I never could. And later on, David is pleading God to save him and to pull him out of his pit, because David's God's servant. And it hit me then that for so long I'd been trying to serve myself and to serve my own selfish desires. And while what I was doing weren't necessarily bad things, the motivations behind them were. And in that moment, God really called me, and he told me, you know, you're my servant, and all of these things that you do, you should be doing for me and not for yourself. And I had absolutely no idea what that looked like. But of course, God had a plan to show me. And later that night, I really just felt a call to come back to Mexico the next year. I had this plan of doing something at Vanderbilt over the summer, and God was just, no, you need to come back. And so I signed up to come back, and I signed up to do the internship because I felt like I needed to be there for longer. I didn't know why, but I did. And so I started preparing for the trip mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and I was at summer camp a couple weeks before our bus took off. And I remember very clearly through just a repetition of different events that God was telling me he had really, really big plans for my senior year. And he was going to broaden my horizons and broaden me as a spiritual follower of Christ. And that was going to start really soon. And I didn't know how soon, but that soon happened to be at a summer camp, but in Tijuana this time. While we were there, I had the opportunity to speak and to teach to this group of Mexican students ages 5 to 18, and then all of the American kids that went with us on the trip. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. And I had just this short little 15-minute sermon, and that was it. But I poured hours and hours and hours into this sermon because I felt God telling me the message that he was going to give through me was so incredibly important. It was a message of hope, of the gospel, of what Jesus did for our lives. And to be able to deliver that message to people so poor that you just look at them and think, if there's anyone on this earth who has a reason to have no hope, it would be them. But just to be able to deliver this message of hope in Christ was just incredible. But I found myself being really disappointed because while I was working on my sermon, I was looking around me at all of my American friends who were getting to play with the Mexican children and getting to interact with them and be involved with what they were doing in the games and the activities. And I imagine God laughing at me every time he had to tell me, I've got you. I've got this under control. I just need you to focus on this for me. And so I did. And it wasn't until after the high school trip left that I realized why I'd been called for the internship and why God had wanted me there for longer, because just a few days later, I was playing soccer on their little makeshift soccer court in La Colonia, getting to hang out and play with the kids that I was teaching to a couple days before. And just seeing that God had orchestrated everything to where he would use me through me, I could deliver his word and teach hope, and he was still going to allow me to have that time with the kids. And I've never in my life before felt so as one with God, and just so much joy came from it. And it was all the joy that I missed from doing stuff for myself, all the joy I was trying to find in my own works that I never found until I had to put every ounce of faith I had in God and trust that he had everything orchestrated. A big thing for me since I've been back in the States is just looking for opportunities to have a servant's heart. And that's David's cry in this psalm, is just, Lord, make me your servant. And I feel like that's what God's calling me to do, is to be a servant to my parents, to my friends, to my teachers, to random people I see, and just to look for ways that I can glorify him through things that I do. And it's not the things that I do bringing glory to me, but just really letting him move through me and using me as a vessel and as an instrument. And so just looking for stuff like that in my everyday life has been huge, from making that transition of fan to follower. It's every day. It's not just on mission trips. It's not just at church camps. It's every day. It's a lifestyle. It's not a feeling or an emotion, but a true lifestyle. I am Megan Ward, and I am not a fan.